Nicely done, Richard Crowell down there, breaking it down. Of course, they're not going to go for each other's team, are they?
Well, I thought I might get something. I thought they'd give me something. Nothing at all. The best thing was when Andy McElroy's son went and drove for Mick Ritter's team in Formula Ford. Max Vidal and Harry Jones go 1 and 2. In the front row of the grid, it's progressive from where they finished the race earlier today. It could be another very wild opening lap. Aaron Love was exciting in race 1 earlier today, wasn't he? He goes from the 3rd. Michael Hovey will be one to watch from the 2nd page of the starting order. David Gregg, one of the Class B contenders. Rob Woods behind. Nathan Murray started 20th, got to 10th, and then dropped back to 16th on the restart in race 1 earlier today. He had everything going on, Matt Nolte. It was just eyes open after that race. He said that was about as wild as it gets.
Eyes wide open. We were the same up here in the commentary box. The cars come in to take their positions in the afternoon. We've just gone over 3 o'clock here at Phillip Island Grand Prix Circuit. Results-based grid from race number 1 earlier today, the Jim Richards Endurance Trophy. Lining up on the front row, Max Vidal and Harry Jones, who was quickest in practice yesterday. If we can get anything like we saw in race number 1, we're in for an amazing race around here at Phillip Island Grand Prix Circuit. 21 cars, Brett Bolton, the final car to start from the back of the field. Troublesome run after that contact with Sam Shaheen earlier today down at Southern Loop, eventually cutting down that left rear Michelin tyre. He will start from 21st on the grid.
So the Jim Richards Endurance Trophy race should be 40 to 45 minutes. Perfect afternoon here at the Phillip Island Grand Prix Circuit. Max Vidal and Harry Jones, 1st and 2nd in the championship. Critical win for Vidal earlier today. Yellow, blue and red car starts from pole position alongside Harry Jones. There's the launch, great start from the outside of the front row. The championship leader with the perfect Porsche start. And a clean run down into the first corner. And it's busy behind. Look at Ross McGregor going down, and there's some bump and runs going on there. Brett Bolton had 2 wheels on the grass at turn 1 at a casual 260k.
Jones' start was dynamite, didn't miss a beat, and had an easy car length before they got past the control line. As they enter Southern Loop for the first time and down Bass Straight, 28 laps this race, so lots to play out. I wonder if they can give us entertainment on each of these 28 laps. Of course they can.
Based on the history of this championship this year, Matt Nolte, there is no doubt of that in my mind, especially now that the guy who won race 1 is back in 2nd place. And watch for the teenager from Perth, young Aaron Love. A lot of West Aussie fans watching on. He's got the job to do to try and grab his first victory. The Porsche Michelin GT3 Cup Challenge. Andrew Goldie on the outside there of Graham Williams as they go through Siberia and the run to the Hayshed. How good was Will Brown and James Moffat through there on the final lap of the TCR Australia race? I'd like to point out they use the same Michelin control tyre that we do in Michelin GT3 Cup Challenge. Lots of grip through the fastest corners here at Phillip Island.
They'll need it for the next 28 laps. We pick up Michael Hovey across the top of the hill at Lukey Heights. Another angry battle pack towards the tail end of the field. And already just covering each other off in the early stages. Back to the leading group of cars. It's going to be Harry Jones that will lead the first lap. The Jim Richards Endurance Trophy here this afternoon at Phillip Island Grand Prix Circuit. Race 2 of round 3 of this year's Michelin GT3 Cup Challenge.
Max has got a very nice run out of turn 12 and he's in the tow. It's worth 5 or 6 k's an hour in a cup car at Phillip Island. Jones covers his line into turn 1. Standard defence. And then the over and under and a big slide on the exit of the corner for the McElroy driver. And there'll be an over under here at the Southern Loop. So they're just exchanging sides of the racetrack at the moment, but the Bob Jane Team Art Sonic cars looking strong. A bit of a wobble coming out there though. He is right on the limits, caught up in the aero wash of the car in front. A bit of understeer there on the exit of turn 2.
The first 3 putting a bit of a margin on the field. In fact, the first 6 have got something like 3 or 4 seconds on the rest of the field here. So we're settling into the race. Let's look at the replay of the start here. Fairly clear for everybody. But watch the left-hand side of screen here. They had to tuck in before they get to turn 1 because it goes from 4 wide to 3 wide in the blink of an eye.
And they were 4.5 wide in the back, and Brett Bolton was pretty keen to get a wriggle on from the back of the field and got 5 cars before turn 1. But had 2 wheels on the grass at the point where you start to turn the car in. And that's pretty hairy. Cameron Crick up the inside of Ross McGregor. Wasn't a great start from Cameron, but he's back up to 6, so he's lived to fight another day there. The leading trio hold their positions at the moment. So factors to take into account for this race. It's more than double the distance of what we had earlier today, and even that race was shorter, so tyre management plays a role. You've got to look after your tyres to get to the end of 28 laps. And we know, Matt, that this place is really hard on the right side tyres with all the fast flowing left-hand corners. So you need to manage your race. There's no point pushing on too early if you've got nothing to fight with at the very end. So this is where these young drivers, especially at the front of this field, learn their craft. This is all learning for them to work out how to get to these longer distance races and how to get to the checkered flag with 4 decent Michelin tyres underneath you.
Let's face it, many of these drivers in the field don't want to do a 28-lap race around Phillip Island.
Oh, Max Vidot very, very wide. Exit turn 2. And that's what we're talking about, little mistakes like that. What if you'd run too wide and cut a tyre, race over, and a big dent in your championship hopes?
132.73, quickest lap of the race so far in these very early stages for Harry Jones. The margin less than half a second. You can see on screen now, Vidot second, Love third, back to Christian Pancioni in 4th. Ryan Sewell runs in 5th place ahead of Cameron Crick. He started 6th, he runs in 6th place. We go back to Tommy Taplin in 7th, McGregor 8th, Barwood 9th, and Goldie completes your top 10 as we work lap 3 of 28 here at the Island.
WA's finest, Andrew Goldie, doing a very nice job in 10th place at the moment, leading Class B.
Did he approve that?
He's now. He's going to own it. Leading the class, he's way in front of Tony Martin, who's second, and his closest rival for the championship, David Gregg, 18th overall and 3rd in class. As always in Porsche racing, there's battles all the way through the field, and that Class B fight, always one to watch. Those guys have an enormous amount of fun. So lap 3 of 28, this is particularly busy. Brett Bolton continues his march through the field. He's just passed Graham Williams, and he's got Sam Shahin following him through as well.
Comes the second verse. Remember, he started from 21st position, 21st position.
Oh, no,
it's got it right.
Gone. Exit, turn 11 on the curb before they turn into that high-speed turn 12 onto Gardner Straight, and here they are, side by side. Tag Heuer Pro-Am rivals, and it's 4 wide as they come onto the straight. Slow recovering car of Brett Bolton gets gobbled up by Michael Hovey, who sails through.
Look at those marks on the track. How lucky we didn't have any more cars involved. And now he drops down the field outside the top 15. So go back to our leaders. The gap sits at 0.3 of a second. Aaron Love, the fastest car on the circuit, 3rd position. So we take a look at the replay. What happened the lap prior to Max Vidot? Very lucky to get away with that one on these big, aggressive, sawtooth curbs on the exit of Southern Loop. And here's what happened just a moment ago. Got it wide, did Bolton, on the exit 11, spun across, and how he didn't collect any other cars, we will never know.
That was a huge moment. It's full commitment in there, and you get the car turned in early on the nose in these Porsches to try and generate front grip. And you've got to get to that inside curb. I've driven it on a simulator, and it's an amazing corner, but it's really difficult to get right. And if you make a tiny mistake, you have an issue like that. So all that hard work in the opening laps undone for Brett Bolton. Sam Shahin, meanwhile, just flicking dollar bills and gets a few free positions. Lovely.
Puts him now into 16th. These guys.
I don't even know what that means. I'm sorry.
It works.
Yeah, it does.
You were going to do that last night, weren't you?
Yeah.
There we go to complete another lap. 24 to go. Vidot right on the tail of Harry Jones. He's been quick straight out of the trailer this weekend. The Helimods number 12 Porsche. Love still runs in 3rd. These guys covered by less than 1 second. Pancioni's 2.5 seconds down the road with Ryan Sewell and Cameron Crick. Order unchanged. We're on lap 5.
Aaron Love sets the fastest lap of the race at a 32.16 last time round, and he's just shadowing the 2 leaders. Vidot continues to keep the thumb screws on the back of Harry Jones. Meanwhile, the second of the Sonic Motor Racing cars could be the dark horse in this race. So Vidot not being overly aggressive, though that big moment on the exit of turn 2 wasn't especially brilliant. He's just holding himself back a little bit. He's not throwing everything at Harry Jones. He feels like he's got just enough to stay with him. Don't torture tyres, don't overdrive the car for the sake of getting a spot early. And Matt Belford is off the road at turn 2. Is he just enough out of the gravel to drive out? The Michelins are just off the gravel trap, and this is Sam Shahin down the inside of Michael Hovey in that very cool tribute livery McElroy Racing Porsche. It is livery of the year for mine, without question.
Agreed. Belford's dropped down to 21st position. Through come the first 3 once again. 2.8 seconds is the margin back to 4th place. So far, drama-free, and everybody driving with a smart head right. No, I'm cursing it.
Why did you say
If it's not weather, it's cursing races.
Have you seen this series this year, Matt? It's been crazy. Absolutely crazy. And these races, the Jim Richards Endurance Trophy races especially, it's a very special part of this championship. It's been around a long time now, and people desperately want to win it. But they always tend to explode late. They just sit along. They're like that amazing American coffee that you like. They just sit there percolating for a while, and then they slowly boil over the cup right at the very end.
Hopefully there'll be no two lumps in any of these passes, though. Down to the hairpin.
Good
Awful. Just terrible. Cameron Crick's about to set his fastest lap of the race, and now challenge is on. He's on the outside at Siberia. Won't be able to do it there, but needs to be careful of Aaron Love. He's like a shark, appropriately enough, down there at Siberia. On the tail of these cars, through the high speed, left and right combination. On the fastest parts of the circuit, then the big climb up to Lukey Heights. Lap 6 at 28, a lot to play out in this Jim Richards Endurance Trophy. Race 2, the Porsche Michelin GT3 Cup Challenge here today at the island.
It's one of the best places in Australia to watch a cup car work and work well is the hay shed. An amazing sequence around the back of the Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit. The cars bounce around on their front end as they get to that curb on the inside and then settle and change direction up over Lukey Heights. It's a great place to watch racing cars at the ragged edge with really good young drivers, especially behind the wheel. So that little mistake from Harry Jones down on the exit of turn 4, the hairpin, that right-hander, famous corner, cost him all the way to MG. It cost his momentum and it allowed Max Vidot to have a go. So he'll be hoping there's another one of those somewhere where he can pounce and grab that position. But right now, Jones is doing a really nice job. I was just looking across, Matt, to pit lane to see the smoke pouring out of the brains down there, because there's going to be as much effort put into this race from the engineers and more so the driver coaches that play a big role in this championship, working with their drivers, coaching them through it. Okay, eyes forward, focus on hitting your marks, brake, just don't overthink it, don't over-defend, look after your tyres. They've got a lot to manage. You've got guys in that paddock like Warren Luff who are doing this longer than a lot of people, on the radio to their drivers, talking them through it and managing the race. There's some brain power down there driving these cars from pit lane as much as they are behind the wheel.
Luffy's been around longer than most of these guys have been racing. Right off the top of the hill we go again. Lap 7 for Doe, even closer now. He was impressive in Formula Ford racing and now gets his big shot in the Michelin GT3 Cup Challenge. He tries the outside. If he gets it here, he might just get the run through the left-hander. No!
Good racing. Great racing. And just a little bit wide on the exit of MG. And that's a reversal of what we saw in race 1 where Harry Jones got out onto that exit curb. This time it was the Sonic car, had the big slide, and that was all the invitation Harry Jones needed to cut across in front into turn 11 and hold on to the spot. Great stuff though, great racecraft between these two, and Harry was just covering his position perfectly there, but Max committed hard. It was a long way around the outside. So here's the slide. Didn't actually get to the exit curb, so it was just as the car unloaded on the left-hand side there, it just shifted into oversteer, which is when the back wants to overtake the front. Just cost you a little bit of momentum on corner exit. Good racing, clean racing, competitive stuff, and again, that just drags Aaron Love back into the equation.
Well, these three have 4 seconds. Back to Pancioni, who's in 4th position. Another second back to Ryan Sewell and Cameron Crick. Tommy Taplin still 7th, so the top 10 unchanged. Lap 8 at 28. Again, Vidot turns it up through Siberia. And around the backside of Phillip Island Grand Prix we go. Some margins on the left-hand side, 0.6 of a second, covering the top 3. Can it stay like this for the next 21 laps?
It's entirely possible, though. At the moment, it looks like there's a pace advantage to the South Australian driver who's currently in 2nd place, former Australian Formula Ford champion. He's got more car speed and he's looking to make a move again at MG on the race leader. Just turned 20, Harry Jones, originally from the Sunshine Coast, now in Brisbane, studying mechanical engineering at university. Spent some time working at McElroy Racing during the week. It's often the way, isn't it? Max Vidot moved over from South Australia to work at Sonic, so they're both working at the race teams they're driving for as well, which I think is fantastic. And behind them, another teenager in Aaron Love, who's just waiting to pick up the pieces if these two properly get stuck into each other.
It's always been a great way of getting into sport, really, isn't it? No point just growing up, want to be a race car driver. You need to learn all the aspects behind the scene of running a race team. You get a greater appreciation for it, don't you? When you come back and you've got to repair a race car, and now the gap opens up on the exit of Southern Loop. They'll go side by side, battle for the lead. Vidot will have the better line. Does he have the speed to cover him off down at turn number 4? The Bob Jane T-Mart's car squirms its way and stays on the outside. The door is open. Watch Aaron Love in this mix as well.
There was contact there, Matt, through turn 3, and that might have been what saved Harry Jones from losing the race lead. What commitment to hold on around the outside there.
That's cool.
Great racecraft, and well done Aaron Love, just positioning his car in the perfect position, trying to take advantage. It was what we were talking about. This is such a good battle. It's gone on for 9 laps. We're on the 10th. There's a long way to go in this. It could conceivably go the distance. And he's had a little bit of damage. Bit of skirting hanging over the back of car 77. Jones again defends. He's quite, I'm not going to say weak, that's not the right turn. He struggles a little bit through the hay shed and surrenders some pace into MG. This is the moment. Check the commitment from the 12 car. Hangs it round the outside at turn 3. This is 210 kilometres an hour in a Cup car. They're loaded up. They're running out of grip, and they're wheel to wheel, and he holds on.
So
outstanding.
Cool. Even Vidot was lucky. He didn't lose that position to Aaron Love. He was rubbing his hands together, watching these two go side by side. Down to the turn 4 hairpin. Back to Southern Loop we go. Lap 10, 26 here today. Race number 2. With the under tray just dangling off the back of that Bob Jane T-Mart's number 77. How's your heart rate?
Well, probably a bit lower than Max Vidot's at the moment, I think, because he just had a big tank slapper at turn 2. The setting sun here, at perfect day at the Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit. You can see his hands wiggling on the wheel because his car had a big slide. And there's just a little bit of damage, so the rear plastic skirt that sits in under the engine of these cars and surrounds the rear bumper bar is just dragged loose on the right hand side. You can see it hanging down. It shouldn't have a massive aero impact on it, but race control will just keep an idea and keep a view on it, I suppose, if it looks like it's going to come off. Jonathan Glixton has had an off somewhere. He's just dropping bits of Phillip Island's finest gravel all over their racetrack, but he's recovered to live a fight another day, to fight another day, I should say.
Any gravel around the course here today from the other categories we've had here as part of the Shannons Nationals. Another lap ticking by here. We've dropped back into the low 32s. Around goes Barwood, the Melbourne Orthopaedic Group, number 21. Has dropped him down the order. He was down in 9th position, inside the top 10. That puts him down behind Hovey, so it'll be 14th or 15th the time he rejoins the race down at turn 4.
Tag Heuer Pro-Am winner in race 1 earlier today. A good haul of points for a guy that's now one of the more experienced racers in the championship. And Max has just dropped off the back of Harry Jones in the last lap or two, though as I say that, he closes back in at 2. And now they're getting into some traffic and the lights are flashing for the race leader. This will be critical moments for Harry Jones' motor race. He needs to clear these guys quickly. And it looks like the teams have done a good job. Vidot, too deep, way too deep, off the road under brakes and barreling down the escape road at turn 4. Round 1 winner, second on the road. He's going to tumble down the charts. Got caught out by the traffic. He was caught out there by the lap traffic, Matt, and it's cost him big time. There's going to be a flat spot in the tyre, and let's have a look at that.
So he was right almost in the back and tried to split the lap traffic at the same time, locked up the left front, across the curbs, found the gravel, and this went on and on and on. But watch when it pulls up here, pretty much straightens up with the return road. But he's lost a lot of positions out of that.
What he's also lost is the front splitter off that car, and that's going to cost him with front grip, and it will generate understeer, and that's a familiar thing for Max Vidot because he had the same problem at Sydney Motorsport Park last time out in the same race, in the Jim Richards race. Tore the front splitter off and just battled with front tyres graining and overheating over the race. So that costs him big time. We're waiting for him to cross the line in the Bob Jane T-Mart's car to tell you where he ends up. Certainly isn't second place. Aaron Love now starts the attack on the back of Harry Jones. It'll be 6th. That is a costly moment.
Through they had about 6 seconds on the guys behind him too. He's going to need qualifying laps for the rest of the race right now. He's behind Crick and ahead of Taplin. And now Aaron Love gets his shot at the lead.
Sorry, Matt, that's the problem, is that he's not going to be able to make qualifying laps because the car's going to be grip limited in the front because it's now lacking that front splitter because he fired it off the road. I can't help but think he just got missighted by that lap traffic they were going through. Harry Jones was really aggressive down the inside. It was almost a full send, just committed, I'm going to get past you guys here, you'll get out of my way. And I'm not sure what happened with Vidot, but he tried to scythe his way through. The car locked a brake and fired it off the road. He dropped 5 spots.
Stopped on the right-hand side, driver's right-hand side, middle of turn number 8 there. As now, Jones protecting the line because here comes Aaron Love. He'll watch the speed off through here. This is Love's chance now to have an attack at the lead. If Jones wins this, it'll be the hardest fought victory of the season so far. He just got rid of Badeau, and now he's got Aaron Love on his tail.
Yeah, just when you get rid of one of your Sonic Motor Racing rivals, another one pops up.
Surprise!
The 16-year-old from Perth, who last year finished on the podium 12 times in Australian Formula 4, won one race. It's the younger brother of Jordan Love, who I'm sure will be watching on. Currently second in Porsche Pace Carrera Cup Australia behind his teammate Dale Wood. They race next weekend at Hidden Valley. All the focus in Porsche World here at the moment. Should mention that, speaking of Porsche World, the graduate of this championship, Jackson Evans, racing this weekend in Austria at the Red Bull Ring, Porsche Carrera Cup Germany, reigning Carrera Cup Australia champion.
6 seconds, make it 7.5 seconds now at that sector between these guys and the third place car. Lap 13, unlucky for some in this race, the Jim Richards Endurance Trophy once again turning on some great action in the Porsche Michelin GT3 Cup Challenge here today at Phillip Island. Another race tomorrow morning to crown our overall podium for round 3. It's so much to play out in season 2019.
Wave yellow flags at the hay shed. And safety car. We're going safety car with 14 laps to go. And Harry Jones gets a breather. Having driven in his rearview mirror for 12 laps, very astutely holding on to his race lead, he gets a break finally. And that's the reason. It's the Garage 1 Morris Finance entry of Nathan Murray, stranded on the racetrack. And that beautiful bit of road we were talking about, the entry to the hay shed. So what's happened to Nathan there? It's like the car's lost drive. No visible signs of damage.
No, it's been there for a couple of laps, so maybe race control were thinking he could get it refired and move, but clearly it's stranded. And the ANCAP safety car comes out to settle the field down inside the second half of this race, with Harry Jones, Aaron Love, Christian Pancioni in third, Ryan Sewell is now fourth, Cameron Crick in fifth, Max Badeau is in sixth, then Tommy Taplin, Bolton in eighth, Sam Shaheen ninth, and McGregor is your top 10. And all those gaps, they come back to nothing. So
they were first and second in Tag Heuer Pro-Am on lap 1 of race 1 today. Sam Shaheen and Brett Bolton in reverse order. First and second in Tag Heuer Pro-Am at the end of race 2 today, despite dramas in race 1. It's funny how the world works sometimes, isn't it?
I think Sam will be waving the rear vision mirror of Brett Bolton's car.
Oh, I'm not sure. It'll be eyes forward. I haven't heard an outcome yet of any judicial findings from that contact. I had a look at onboard from both cars, actually, and I'm no expert, but and I won't make a judgment. I'm not even going to say. But, yeah, 50-50, I think, potentially between those two. The pictures didn't look quite as...
damning?
They looked more damning than the onboard did.
It's the highlights so far of the Jim Richards Endurance Trophy. 26 laps into the journey here today. And pretty much from the lights out sequence, it was on between the first 3. Speaking of Sam Shaheen, there was the move he made. It was a dynamite move down at the hairpin on Michael Hovey.
That was great. Really aggressive, but got it done. No contact. Race on. There was Brett Bolton.
I forgot this happened. So it's an awesome effort.
He's leading the class through everything that's going on. He had a massive spin and he's still leading. And this is the fight. So was that the contact? That was a little bit of contact there between the teammates, and that's what dislodged the plastic rear under tray there on Max Badeau's car. So this was the moment through lap traffic. Badeau tries to dive out. The 14 car was in the way and way off the road at high speed under brakes for a big stop from 200 clicks. Badeau ends up firing it down the road. He gets a break as well, looks after his front tyres with the safety car. He's currently 6th place. He must just get some points in this race now, Max Badeau, and then go to bed tonight and come back fresh tomorrow. It's absolutely crucial for him to keep scoring points, because Harry Jones will re-extend his championship lead if he holds on. In fact, he'll do it if he finishes in front of car 77. So the gap came back down to 46 points. It was 52 coming into today.
It's been seesawing all season long. The ANCAP safety car lights are out and heading back to pit lane. 20 cars surviving this race, the Jim Richards Endurance Trophy. You're watching Max Vidot.
There's bits hanging off that car, front and rear. Rear splitter hanging off, damage to the front. He's just got to get some points. It is really close between the top two. Lap traffic in between themselves and Christian Pancioni, who's in third. There's the green flag. There's the restart from Harry Jones. I'd say he judged it well, but Aaron Love's done a really nice job because he tucks into the slipstream of the Helimods car and will be right there when they get to turn one.
Look at Sewell trying to make the move here. They're going 3 wide. He might make it 4 wide.
Can't watch.
Settle in. I'll watch for you through turn number 1. And they survive. Lap 15 to 26. We pick up where we left off when the ANCAP safety car came out. And now Vidot with all the work to do. There's Belford in car 14. Remember, a lap down now in 19th position.
Oh, gone. Gone. Belford goes around, exit turn 2. Tom Taplin was there. I'm not sure if there was contact. We only caught the end of it. But in his second race meeting for Porsche Centre Melbourne, the orange and it's a matte chrome livery, very nice, turned around, unfortunately, in the exit of turn 2. Hopefully he can continue on. Christian Pancioni would be a little bit frustrated that there was a lap car between himself and these two, because I think he might have fancied himself to get himself into this fight, the closing stages of this race, 12 laps remaining. But the lap car, as they cross the line, you're not allowed to pass, even though it's a lap car, you're not allowed to overtake before you get to the control line. This is what happened, top of your screen. Tom Taplin trying to work his way past the 14 car, unfortunately. A little bit of contact. Turned Belford round, he ended up pointing in the wrong direction on the exit of the Southern Loop.
Come the leaders out of turn 11 into 12. Some shadows starting to form over the back half of the circuit. Their gap is 2.4 seconds. Back to Pancioni. This work cut out now if he wants to stay in this battle pack for first and second. Love. So Jones will be sick of seeing this car in the mirror when the checkered flag comes out later today. There's some amazing shot of the cars plunging down the hill. He pulls out for a look. No, down to turn number 1.
I love that shot. Down low, looking up the hill. It gives you a real sense of the speed of these cars. And on the speed track, just before the braking point at turn 1, Aaron Love showed 271 kilometres an hour. And he's got a really good run out of the exit of turn 2. Can he do what his teammate couldn't and pass the McElrea Porsche? He's on the wrong side to do it at turn 4. Jones defends. He's practiced that move once or twice in this race. The Queenslander holds on once again. How's the intensity level in one-make Porsche racing this year, Matty? It's so fiercely competitive at every level.
Great shot as they climb past the hay shed to Lukey Heights. Love, I think, has the pace here right now. But Jones driving nice and defensive, as he's entitled to do, parks the car down the middle. They exit the hairpin once again underneath the bridge. And now Love needs to stay in the slipstream. Won't be able to do too much on the Gardner Straight. But well, in closing target now, 2.4 seconds away from Pancioni. Vidot, Ryan Sewell still 5th. Crick in 6th position now. And Brett Bolton, even with that spin, is 7th ahead of Shaheen McGregor. And Tom Taplin now is your top 10. Lap 17.
10 to go. And this battle continues on. His defensive effort is enormous from Harry Jones. He's just driving his own race. He's not being forced into any errors. He's driven the car straight. He's looked after his Michelin tyres. But he's still got 10 laps of attack from a 16-year-old, hungry for his first ever victory in Porsche racing, having stepped up from open wheelers last year. That's the gap back to Christian Pancioni. So Vidot's up to 4th. He's got some ground. The bits are still hanging off his car, but they're holding on. They build them strong at Weissach, where they put together the Porsche GT3 Cup cars. Ryan Sewell back in 5th place in the second McElrea car. Cameron Crick having a quiet day at the office, but I don't think he'll mind that too much. He's 6th for GWR Australia. And back to that Tag Heuer Pro-Am battle you mentioned, Matty. They're 7th and 8th. Tom Taplin and Ross McGregor next. Andrew Goldie still holding on to 11th place and 1st in Class B.
Closer this time at the hairpin, turn number 10. Or just snap sideways for Jones. Love gets a sniff of it here. Pancioni starting to fall back into the clutches of Max Vidot, who brings that Bob Jane T-Mart's 77 car. Race 1 win earlier today, pole position in qualifying as well today. 4th position at the moment, going for 3rd, and now Love going for the lead. Jones down the middle, makes Love go around the outside. They'll go at it once again down to Southern Loop here on lap 18.
Love gets a great exit out of turn 12 every lap. He gets really good drive, and he gets a really good move down the inside at the Southern Loop. There's a hip and shoulder on the exit, but finally car 78 goes to the point. Great move, opportunistic, took the move up the inside of the Southern Loop and wrestled the lead away from Harry Jones, who has to go from defence to offence now in the final 9 laps of this race. Aaron Love hits the front for the first time in his Porsche career.
Great racing. High pressure stuff between these two. Set him up down here in the Southern Loop. Jones tucks the car in. They got that bump. They've been hitting that bump all race long, just enough for the door to open. And the 78 says, not this time. The hip came up, touched the shoulder, and he took the lead of the motor race.
And there's the bump on the exit just to go, now I'm coming through, mate. Great slow-mo replay, well captured by the crew, and you could just see the attitude on that car picking up the inside front wheel. Great bit of racing between the two of them. All fair, nothing in that. Really good hard stuff. So let's see if Jones can stay with him now. Has he got the car speed to attack again, or will Aaron Love pull away? This next lap will be absolutely critical. If Love can break the back of it, he'll get this one. I don't think Harry Jones is going to let him get away that easy. And the script writers in this championship this year, well, they're doing a better job than they did on Game of Thrones because it's much more unpredictable and much more satisfying. And I think there's still a bit to go in this Jim Richards Endurance Trophy race.
Less dragons anyway. Down back straight through the left-hander. Who invited me back?
Better scenery.
Down towards the hairpin we go.
Here, though.
Exactly right. Parks it down the middle once again. I think Jones has had a lap now to regroup. He's got time on his side. There'll be 7 laps to go at the end of this. Left the field well and truly in their wake after that unhandicapped safety car period. Pancioni 3rd. Only 3/10 ahead of Vidot, Sewell and Crick. Top 6 unchanged. Lap 19. We climb the top of Lukey Heights here at the island.
Thanks to Michelin, currently 15 degrees ambient. It's a picture-perfect day here at the Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit. Track temperature 20. It's the hottest it's been all day. So they're working their Michelin tyres hard to keep up this intensity and this battling, and Jones is not letting our race leader go away. Just having a look back through the field, there's Michael Hovey, behind him Andrew Goldie, 11th and 12th place. But this fight is compelling, and it's not done yet. Just an advantage though, this time around for Aaron Love. It's 0.3 of a second, it's 2 car lengths. If he gets another 2 or 3 car lengths, he'll break the toe. And that aerodynamic aid that Harry Jones will get to draw him closer to the race leader will just disappear. And that might be all that Love needs to pull away.
266 k's an hour for Love at the finish line, 272 for Jones. Shows the effect it's having of that big hole in the air being created by the number 78. Down to turn number 4, closing stages of this race. It's had everything. Both these races have today in Michelin GT3 Cup Challenge.
Harry's very good under brakes into turn 4. Just drags that margin back a little bit, though. You get that concertina effect, braking and acceleration in these leading battles. 7 laps to go. And the intensity's still there in the fight, but Love just starting to eke away. The margin at the second intermediate, 0.5 of a second. Vidot's got Pancioni, so 3rd and 4th place swap again. So despite the damage to the Sonic Bob Jane T-Mart's car, former Australian Formula 4 champion has been able to pass some cars and get himself back onto the podium. And critically, that ties him on points for the round so far with Harry Jones. So we're talking about damage limitation, Matt, and managing the way that championship plays out. There you go. Damage limitation. He's equalled the point score. There's no loss. There's no gain, though.
Sets us up nicely for tomorrow, doesn't it? 108 points.
Sure does.
Each of these drivers now, 21 laps into this race.
What make Porsche racing is alive and well in Australia at the moment. This ladder system, the Porsche pyramid, this is a bit on. Ryan Saul going around the outside of Christian Pancioni, who looks like he's just dropped off the cliff a little bit at the end of this race. Michelin tyres perhaps used a little too much, but he's not giving up. The young guy from Melbourne's got some fight. He gets back up the inside of the open wheel graduate, retakes the spot. Nicely done. VCM Performance Car holds on to fourth.
And Verdot will be loving this. Let these two guys scrap it out. Saul's not done. Tries the outside. We've seen this all before. Has he got the grip to stay there? I don't think so.
Good driving. Just gives Verdot the break he needs to hold on. So he's clear in third place. 7.8 seconds behind the leaders. Won't worry too much about that now. It's just about bringing that car home and possibly fending off any more attacks from the VCM car. 21 of 26, let's have a look at that. It started back at the Southern Loop. And they went wheel to wheel through here. Good racing. And it's been very clean, hasn't it, Matt?
Yeah.
For the most part, a little bit of argy-barging. You get that. And then they go wheel to wheel under brakes. You can see how much later Sewell carried the brake down into turn 4 to try and get that advantage around the outside. 0.5, the margin remains consistent, just a car length between the two leaders. Jones and Love 1 and 2. Vidot in third, Pancioni behind him in fourth. There's not much in that fight for third. I don't think Christian's done with yet. Ryan Sewell in fifth, Cameron Crick sixth, having a quiet little race. Brett Bolton seventh. Tom Taplin's past Sam Sheehan for eighth. Tag Heuer Pro-Am going the way of Bolton at the moment. Sheehan ninth. Ross McGregor, whose wife makes just outstanding Rocky Road, was handing it out in the paddock earlier today. I'd just like to point that out. It was delicious.
Thanks.
Oh, big lock up. Harry Jones. Enormous lock up under brakes into turn 4. That won't help the right front Michelin. And it just allows the race leader to pull away.
Margin out to a second. Lucky to get away with that. But there was the apron on the outside to rescue car number 12 through the right-hander. Here's the replay. Coming down to the turn 4 hairpin. Second car in the shot. The first one to lock up down there today. And that's a significant lock up from the right front. I'll be shocked if there's no damage to that Michelin tyre.
Well, they would have used a brand new set of tyres for this race. And they'll use their race 1 set for the shorter sprint race tomorrow morning. You'll chuck that one away. Have a nasty vibration through the front axle of that car for the rest of this race, Harry Jones. As Aaron Love gets himself into some traffic. Doesn't cost him anything. Well done. Matty Belfort getting out of the way. He's got Nick McBride on the radio. Round 1 winner of Porsche Pace Carrera Cup Australia this year on the streets of Adelaide. Nick not particularly happy with me at the moment. My football team beat his football team by 2 points last weekend. He's not having a great season. He's going better in Carrera Cup than his footy team, he's put it that way.
I think he'd rather that right now.
Yeah, 100%.
So, Pancioni on the back of Verdot again. 4 laps remaining. Down Bass Straight we go.
That 77 car's been in the wars today, hasn't it?
He'll sleep well tonight.
Yeah, bits hanging off at left, right and centre. Sonic have got some work to do to tidy it up.
Oh, right down the opposite side of the circuit, covering him off. Now you watch Ryan Sewell. He's suddenly in this again as well. That Appliance White, number 7 Porsche, stepping up from the Formula 4 Championship. Might just get into this argument. There'll be 3 laps to go at the end of this.
It's Porsche White, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. The only commentator who brings a colour chart into the commentary box.
Nothing applied to you about these cars. As they go past Belford, the hay shed. Nice job, just getting out of the way. Good respect shown by the guys going a lap down or 2 laps down to avoid any dramas with the race leaders. 3 laps remaining next time by. The margins come back a little bit. So even if there is a flat spot on the front right tyre, it's been a long race, there's been a lot going on. Harry Jones has managed to maintain that margin. It's officially 0.3. Is there another sting in the tail of this race at the end, Matt Nolte? I'm going to go with yes.
Yeah, I tend to agree. In the Southern Loop. Has the margin 9 seconds back to Verdot, who's still under siege from Pancioni and Sewell. Cameron Crick running a very lonely race back there in 6th position, but happy to net some points there today in that Plus Fitness entry. Car 777, using the ECB Super Ute Series as well this year. Race winner, pole position at the previous round of their series at Winton. Really starting to forge his name, keeping the Crick name alive in the Australian motorsport scene. Through Siberia come the leaders. I think Jones is lining up here. 2 laps to go. You don't want to do it now.
No, last lap.
Last lap.
Yeah,
100%.
send it, full send. Why not? He will have in the back of his mind a championship. Now, here's an interesting story for you, Matt Nolte. If they finish the way they are, as we take a look at the gap back to this fight for 3rd, 4th and 5th, it's currently a 3-way tie for first place in the round between Love, Jones and Vito. If they finish the way they are, which the way this series goes is probably not likely, they're each on 108 points going into tomorrow's race. Talk about making it winner take all. So while I'd love for this race to change hands at the very end, regardless of who wins it, part of me wants them to go into a 3-way tie for the final race tomorrow morning to set up a massive showdown here at the island to kick things off on a big Sunday. Let's see how this plays out. 2 to go. The margin ekes out a little bit, 0.9 as they cross the line. So good response from Aaron Love. 33.2 that time around, plays a 33.6 for Harry Jones. Pancioni is back up to 3rd. So that breaks the 3-way tie. Vito back to 4th.
Separate the finish line by about 1400ths of a second.
Oh, no, Vito's back in front. They've swapped positions again.
I was watching him out the window, going down to turn number 1.
The 3-way tie's back on. I like it. It's a good headline when all 3 of your drivers are locked together after 2 of your 3 races.
Dare say this hasn't happened too often over the years.
Max has no, I would agree with you. I don't have the statistic.
I wasn't going to put you on the spot either.
We don't have an Aaron Noonan in the box at the moment to tell us, but Max is just hanging on to this car at the moment. I would dare say it's a very ugly race car to drive with all the bits hanging off it, missing the front splitter. It'll want to understeer everywhere. He's done a terrific job to keep himself in the fight and keep the point score going.
Full back of this group of cars. Up to the top of Lukey Heights. Here's the leader coming out of turn 11. There'll be 1 lap to go for Aaron Love. Opportunistic move in the second half of this race. And now comes on by to start the last lap. Gap is 1.3 seconds. He's shutting it down. 3rd, 4th and 5th on screen now. Pancioni, who got past for a split second anyway, finds himself in 4th position on the final lap of the Jim Richards Endurance Trophy here today. Race number 2 of the Porsche Michelin GT3 Cup Challenge.
So let's talk about Aaron Love. He's 16 years of age. He's from Perth in Western Australia. It's a great part of the world with a huge amount of motor racing tradition. And the Love family have carved out a decent niche of it in recent times because his brother is currently the form driver in Porsche Pace Carrera Cup Australia. He's a couple of years the senior of young Aaron. But Jordan this year in the championship has won the last 5 races in Carrera Cup in one of the most competitive one-make Porsche series anywhere. And now his little brother is half a lap away from winning his first race in this year's championship. 3rd in the standings coming into the weekend, a consistent start to the season, scoring points where he needed to, 2nd in the final 2 races at Sydney Motorsport Park, and 2nd for the round there. There's the fight for 3rd, it's not done yet, but a well-measured, well-judged, well-raced performance by this young guy from WA. He's in the final corner. Harry Jones has driven his heart out today. He defended for most of the motor race, first from Vito and then from this guy. But Aaron Love for Sonic Motor Racing joins the list of winners in this utterly compelling Porsche Michelin GT3 Cup Challenge and wins on Saturday the Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit. Harry Jones 2nd, builds his championship lead. Max Vito, with all the fight in the world you'd expect from this guy, finishes 3rd. And what's even better, we've got a 3-way tie at the top of the standings going into the final race tomorrow.
Here's Tom Taplin coming around to take 8th position here today. The South Australian Taplin real estate entry crossing the line. It promised and it delivered here today, qualifying in the 2 races.
Did it? What?
Fantastic. Well done, everybody. this entire field. Aaron Love, who made the move happen down at Southern Loop in the second half of this race, picks up the win by 1.1 seconds back to Harry Jones, a further 11.7 back to Max Vidot, all tied on 108 points going into race number 3 here tomorrow. Hancioni and Ryan Sewell are tied on points as well, incidentally, in 4th and 5th. Cameron Crick coming home for 6th position, watching Barwood, who dropped down the field, remember. He'll finish in 12th position after all of that.
So Aaron Love's the 4th different winner in 7 races this season. Sonic Motor Racing driver wins for the first time. Harry Jones 2nd, Max Vidot 3rd. They're the 3 drivers tied on points for the round result. They're impossible to split. It's that close. Christian Panciani 4th, Ryan Sewell 5th, Cameron Crick, Brett Bolton wins Tag Heuer Pro-Am the 2nd time in a row in terms of Jim Richards Endurance Trophy races. So there is a separate trophy on the line there. Shaheen McGregor, the top 10 behind Tom Taplin, Hovey and Barwood next. Andrew Goldie wins Class B with a very stout 13th outright. Rob Woods 14th, Williams, Greg Martin, Glixton, Bilford, and Ewer rounding out the finishes. Nathan Murray was a DNF. What a race. What a day of motor racing for the Porsche Michelin GT3 Cup Challenge. We're 8 races in, and he's yet to be at that one.
And that, look at the second replay of the start for Jones. Impressive. Start of the season. That was that moment for Max Vidot on the exit of the curve. Down at Southern Loop, and it was on again in the background. This is that awesome pass that Sam Shaheen put on Michael Hovey to move up the field. That beautiful number 73 Trippett bar and entry. This was the moment for Bolton, who went on to win the Pro-Am.
He finished 7th outright and had a massive lose at turn 12. How do you do that? Remarkable. This was the battle for the lead early on. Vidot throwing everything he could. A little bit of contact there with Aaron Love on the run into turn 4. Harry Jones, defensive driving early, was outstanding. Perfectly driven, kept the car straight. He wasn't sliding around, looked after his tyres. This turned out to be a critical moment. Vidot just caught out by the lap traffic down at turn 4 and fired him off the road. Unforced error there, cost him a chance at winning this race. And then his young teammate had the opportunity to dive up the inside at turn 2, grabbed it with both hands. And that was the race lead. Wasn't done yet though, because Harry Jones continued to fight and tried to close the margin.
Classic Phillip Island move, wasn't it, down there at Southern Loop? That was Jones losing his chance of getting the race victory here. And Aaron Love picks up the win, 1.1 seconds. That's an enormous margin in the GT3 Cup Challenge here today compared to what we saw during the race and in race number 1. Sonic Motor Racing Services collect another victory in the Porsche Michelin GT3 Cup Challenge. Thoroughly enjoyed that, all 26 laps, brilliant.
Yeah, well done to Aaron Love. Terrific drive, his first race win. His mum Nikki's here watching on. I'm sure Jordan's watching as well. Outstanding stuff. I love this place. What a great racetrack. Compelling day of action here at the Shannons Nationals. The Porsche Michelin GT3 Cup Challenge, a 3-way tie to decide the round in tomorrow's final race, which will be 12 laps. It kicks off the program just after 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. Be here early for that. Get on the stream, watch it. It could be one of the races of the season, Matt, based on how this has gone.